agenda. If you would like to speak to this committee on public comment on an item on the agenda, you need to fill out one of the cards in the back and give it to the clerk to my left. And also, if you want to speak to general issues that are not on the agenda for this committee, you can also fill out a card and put a general comment. Otherwise, you put the number of the file item that you'd like to speak to, and we'll call you up at that appropriate time. So with that, we'll begin with item number 1.
John White, City Clerk. Item 1, motion Garcetti Reyes authorizing the Department of General Services, the Police Department, and the City Engineer to negotiate and execute a memorandum of agreement with the FBI for the design, construction, and occupancy of office space at the new Police Administration Building for the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Greg Hall from Major Crimes Division of LAPD, and seated to my left is Detective Tim Jones, also of Major Crimes Division. We also have a representative from the CAO's office. So,
thank you very much. I know it appears to be deja vu. You presented before the Public Safety Committee, but this is a different committee. We may have some of the same questions. So with that, I'd like to ask my colleague Jan Perry if she has any questions at this time.
I did have the opportunity to have a conversation with Joe McNamara. Sorry, God, thank you. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with Joan McNamara about this, and I think it's an excellent way to move forward on a consolidation of efforts and a consolidation, maximizing of resources, particularly on an issue that transcends just our local authority. I'm pretty pleased by the whole approach. I think it's innovative, and the fact that we seem to be able to work through the fiscal impacts in a way that we can get reimbursed for consolidation of effort, and it makes it a more an enhanced approach, in my opinion. So I'm pretty supportive of it.
thank you. I agree with you 100%. This will be the first one in the nation, so it's breaking a ceiling for the department and the city of Los Angeles as well.
Yes, I think it's a great opportunity for us to show our efforts in collaboration with other agencies. FBI is an agency is certainly well recognized with every American, yet at the same time, it's I think it is trying to find the right word. It's appropriate that we are able to prove our professional standards in the city, and I think by working with the FBI in this manner, it is certainly a proof of that, the professionalism of our police department, and also the attention that we pay to the responsibilities and collaboration that we've always had with many agencies. And for us to have this formal relationship, it certainly says a lot about our department and the fact that we take these matters as serious as we do, and the caliber of work that we do is of a high standard. So with that, I did ask some questions in the Public Safety Committee, and those items were clarified, so I don't have any more questions at this time for the purposes of this committee. But we will check for public comments. Okay. I don't see any public
Mr.
comments.
Chair?
Yes.
John Chavez with the CAO's office. We did have some minor modifications to the controller's instructions. We did.
Okay.
We're merely asking a reduction in GSD's proposed appropriation amount and an increase in BOE. It would be for design, a design contingency.
Mm-hmm.
We do have copies for your staff and for the city clerk.
Okay. Thank you, and that was also pointed out and made part of the record in the Public Safety Committee on Monday. So thank you very much for that reminder and that clarification. So with that, any more comments, gentlemen?
See you tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. And is there anybody here for public comment on item number 1? Public comment on item number 1 is now open. Seeing and hearing no one come forward and no public comment cards filled out for item number 1. Public comment on item number 1 is now closed. With that, we will adopt the motion with those clarifications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now go to item number 2.
Item 2, motion Cardenas Perry relative to the feasibility of creating lactation rooms for mothers with newborns in city facilities with 250 or more occupants and related actions.
Run item number 2. Is there any staff here to make any presentations or take instructions on item number 2? This is a matter that certainly involves GSD. Anybody, CLA, any comments on this? CAO? Don't be embarrassed.
Can I make a comment? Can I make a-
Sure, absolutely.
I think this is a very good idea, and some of the projects that I've developed in the southern part of the district, we actually have created rooms like this for new mothers to not only have a place to come and learn how to breastfeed, but to bond with each other and form support groups. I think that it's really a great idea to do this on city facilities where there are 250 or more people, because it encourages women to come back to work and to know that they can work and still, provide for their new baby is only a plus. It goes in the plus column for us as employers. So, I do hope that at some point GSD does come back to us with a plan.
Yep, that's part of the plan.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yes. Thank you. We do have a public comment card filled out on item number 2. Karen Peters?
Thank you. I am Karen Peters, the Executive Director of the Breastfeeding Task Force of Greater Los Angeles, and I prepared a packet for both of you. I thank you very much, first of all, for making this motion and supporting it. As Ms. Perry said, this is incredibly important for new mothers. Additionally, I'd like to say that it's incredibly important for employers. So the Department of Health and Human Services from the feds have created this particular set of materials to show that when women do breastfeed, they have lower absenteeism, less turnover, and lower health care costs, and that it is an easy thing to implement. And so the second piece I have in here are the easy steps to supporting breastfeeding employers. And in particular, I'd like to point out that the Pentagon has already done this. And on page 12, you can see the Pentagon's room for lactating mothers. And they have several pumps set up in that room and have an opportunity for women in a very large facility, the Pentagon, to be able to express their milk at work. In addition, the Los Angeles Best Babies Network has set up a model policy. So the next piece in this folder has a policy that is in a template format that the city can adopt. So this work has already been done. It's going to be an easy implement, is my big point. And then the other thing I'd like to point out on the left side of the packet is that our former city attorney already had a policy in the office of the city attorney, already has, and that's available. And that we have a case, a claim that has been settled against an LA employer who did not abide by this policy. So those are the last things I'd like to be able to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Your information is very informative. I don't have any questions for you at this time. Ms. Perry, do you have any questions?
No, I'd
Ms.
like to
Peters?
just continue to work with you on the implementation of this.
Sure. Oh, we will, for sure.
We will.
But one of the things that I would ask of, is there anybody else here for public comment on item number 2? Okay. One of the things that this motion instructs is for the CAO, CLA, GSD, and Human Services Department to report back on the feasibility of the implementation, but notwithstanding, it also talks about the possibility of providing sponsorships or allowing sponsorships for such a facility in our city buildings.
I
So,
actually have some ideas on that because the rooms that are in projects that I've developed have corporate sponsorship.
yeah, exactly. So one of the things that I want to make sure that the various departments report back to this committee is that you report back understanding that the realities or the limitations that we might have in the city that might make it more difficult than perhaps at the Pentagon, that you be prepared to let us know what some of those obstacles might be, yet at the same time, be prepared to answer to us as to what some of the ways in which we can overcome those obstacles as well. This is something that unfortunately, in my opinion, we live in a man's world. If men were breastfeeding, we'd have these facilities everywhere since the beginning of time. Probably a little room in a cave somewhere that we could probably document. But the fact that, most policy in this country, at least, is made by men, we're still talking about this today. So I use that as an example of how I am intending and expecting that we will move forward with this in a very aggressive manner. So with that, I'm going to add to the instructions to the CAO, the CLA, GSD, and Human Services Department that you research this and look into where this has been implemented and how it's been implemented, and that you each take one of these red folders and make sure that your respective counterpart within your department or your organization actually goes through this, but not limited to this. Go ahead and do the research as you normally do, but I think that it's important that you include in your research this particular set of documents that was forwarded to this committee. Ms. Peters, how many more of these do you have with you today?
I have 2 more, but I can provide more as needed.
Okay. So for right now, I'll turn this over to the committee to make sure that you have some. Okay. Let's make sure that there's enough for all of the respective departments. If you're with the CAO, the CLA, GSD, or Human Services Department, and your counterpart that is going to be leading on this matter is not here, I would ask that you please get one of these red folders and forward it to them as soon as possible, because we're going to expect these report backs in 30 days. If anybody has a problem reporting back in 30 days, speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay? Okay, and it will be scanned and uploaded as well. Thank you very much to the clerk. So with that, that's the instruction from this committee, that the CAO, the CLA, GSD, and Human Services Department report back as indicated in the motion, and also that you report back that you've actually gone through these documents that were provided to this committee today, and that you let us know what the relevancy or the irrelevancy of those documents to our situation here in the city. Thank you very much, Ms. Peters. Thank you. Now we move to item number 3.
Item 3, CLA report relative to city support of federal legislation reauthorizing the FAA to increase the passenger facility changes to $7.50, to increase the amount authorized to fund the airport improvement program, create an environmental program passenger facility charge, provide for no charges or changes in airport rescue and firefighting standards, and 5, phase out stage 2 noise level commercial aircraft under 75,000 pounds pursuant to resolution Han LaBonge.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, council members, Christine Yee Hollis with the CLA. There are 2 lead bills that have been moving through both houses of Congress, so it's a good time if we want to adopt this resolution to go on record. The Department of Airports has submitted a recommendation to support or adopt the resolution, and the CLA also recommends adoption. I'd like to defer to Mark Adams of the Airports Department to discuss some of the content of the provisions that would be desirable, and those, most of which have not yet been added to the lead bills.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports. Thank you much for entertaining this resolution today. We're very supportive, of course, of reauthorizing FAA, and have a number of policy issues we would like to see in the FAA reauthorization bill. This has been booting around for a couple of years now, as FAA has been running under a series of short-term extensions from Congress. One of the biggest issue, and if I don't put this at the top of the list, Ms. Lindsay would have my head, is the increase in the passenger facility charge. This is a very significant piece of funding our capital improvement program out at the airport. Right now, the passenger facility charge is authorized by Congress is $4.50 per plane passenger. The PFC in the House bill is proposed to go to $7. The PFC in the Senate bill is proposed to be unchanged. We really need this to...
When was the last time they increased it?
1990.
1990?
Right. So
19 years. How many raises has Congress had since 1990?
Indeed.
They're not living off of 1990 figures.
Right. So what we're hoping to do is get the passenger facility charge increased to a point where the buying power is at least where it was when it was last raised, and hopefully also include indexing so it...
Yeah, I was going to
can go up
say,
in the future.
are they going to index it, or is it going to be flat for
That's
another
what we'd
20
love
years?
to do. That's part of the resolution that we're asking for, and I know the industry groups that...
But how about the language in the bills?
Big part. The
language in the bills have
at this
index-
point don't have indexing, and so what we're going to be doing is working with our senators, with our delegation, try to get that put in, if not in the Senate bill, then in conference committee, and try to get that all worked out that way. But right now, the House bill is set at $7 with no indexing, and we're, like I said, trying. I mean, the difference between $7 and $4.50. 20 is $250 a passenger at 25 million in plane passengers a year. At LAX, you're looking at a difference of, what is that? Several, $75 million a year, something like that, in revenue. That we need to. That would be very helpful for helping us with our capital improvement program. We also have some other issues that are outlined in the resolution and in the CLA report that we think are very important, including. Making sure that the authorization for the airport improvement program is held at a progressive level. That we're also asking for an additional $1 add-on to the PFC. This could be a pilot program or available nationwide, but an additional $1 onto the PFC for qualified green projects. So if we're, for example, looking at re-engineering our redeveloping our central utility plant and trying to convert it to green technology from the old, we'd be able to collect an additional $1 on top of the $7 specifically for that program. We're also looking at such things as the stage 2 phase out, which I know you did a resolution on that a couple of years ago. We'd like to make sure that gets made part of the ultimate FAA reauthorization bill, which would help our residents out of Van Nuys and get rid of some of those older aircraft, and do that on a nationwide basis, which makes a lot of sense. And that's pretty much it. And we look for your support in this program and getting this legislation moving forward in the right way.
And technically speaking, these kinds of funds are integral to us being able to keep up with the necessary upgrades to make our LA World Airports system a state-of-the-art, up-to-date facilities.
Right, the passenger facility charge.
So we're talking billions of dollars in upgrades that we've already identified that we need to handle.
We're looking at over $5 billion in upgrades right now, and the number, I'm sure, will...
And also, we own Ontario Airport, LAX, and then also, I mean, it's not a commercial airport, but a general aviation airport is Van Nuys.
Right, there's something...
Those are the three active. We also have an inactive interest, pretty much, as I call it, describe it, somewhat of an inactive interest in the Palmdale Airport, right?
Right.
So we actually have a responsibility of 4 facilities, and we have about $5 billion at this point in time that we've identified as necessary projects in order for us to be up to date with all the modern technology and responsibilities of a modern airport, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this is something that not only this committee should support, but also it should be that the full council hopefully will support it as well. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 3? Public comment on item number 3? I don't have any public comment cards on item number 3. See no one come forward for public comment on item number 3. Public comment on item number 3 is now closed. With that, we will adopt the recommendations and also request that the item be scheduled for council no later than November 20th. Okay.
Done.
All right. Okay. Okay. Such is the action of the committee. Thank you very much.
Item
Now
4.
Move to item number 4.
Yes, sir. CLA report relative to city support for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority's pursuit of a long-term federal funding agreement for the Downtown Regional Connector and West Side Purple Line subway extension through the Federal Transit Administration New Starts program. Pursuant to resolution, Rosendahl Reyes.
Good afternoon, Annie Danino from the CLA's office. On September 25, 2009, a resolution was introduced in support of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or METRO's, pursuit of long-term federal funding agreements for the Downtown Regional Connector and West Side Subway Extension. Metro would be applying for the funding through the Federal Transit Administration's New Starts program. On September 24, 2009, the Metro Board voted to pursue New Starts funding for the two projects, the Downtown Regional Connector and the West Side Subway Extension. Previously, Metro was awarded $491 million to complete the Metro Gold Line East Side Extension. However, after this project was complete, there will be no major rail line projects in Los Angeles that are set to receive New Starts funding. According to Metro staff, the Los Angeles region has consistently received less funding than other, less populated areas in the nation, and completion of these projects is highly dependent on securing New Starts funding. The New Starts program is an extremely competitive program that requires Metro to expediently submit its projects for funding. The CLA supports Metro's pursuit of New Starts funding for the Downtown Regional Connector and the West Side Subway Extension. The CLA's recommendation is limited to support for the pursuit of federal funding. The CLA is not taking a position relative to the build and/or design options for either project. And we have Metro, Planning, DOT, and the CRA here available to answer any questions you may have.
And what's before us isn't the design, but what's before us is for us to make sure that we get in line with the federal government so that we can receive funds should we implement one of these or one or more of these different versions of our transportation proposals.
Right. It's support for Metro's pursuit of those two projects, the West Side Extension and the Regional Connector. So it's just pursuit of the funding, and the CLA is not taking a position as to any of the design options.
Ms. Perry?
I just wanted to say that, especially being a member of the Metro Expo Authority, I wouldn't stand in the way of attempting and making the effort to try to secure federal funding, but I want to put on the record that the Downtown Regional Connector has generated a lot of controversy in some of its current configurations, and until that matter is resolved with community consensus, I wouldn't let the project itself move forward, even if we have the funding, until we can build a consensus, because this is a lifetime decision that can either unite a community or absolutely physically divide a community. So I just want to put that on the record so that you can take that back to MTA. I know that they've been working, with the community, trying to build consensus and achieve that. And again, getting federal funding takes such a long time that I understand the need to move forward in securing the funding, but just understand that I, as a local elected official, would balance that if we are fortunate enough to be awarded funding against community consensus and community desires as to whatever iteration we ultimately choose.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Perry. We'll now open it up for public comment. I have various public comment cards filled out on this item number 4. First, I'll call up Chris Ihara and Chris Komai and Satoru Uyeda.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I represent Chris Ihara. I'm the chair of the Transit Committee of the Little Tokyo Community Council. Little Tokyo Community Council is a 100-member organization of stakeholders in Little Tokyo. I want to first say that we in Little Tokyo are not against transit projects, but I think as Councilwoman so spoke, we are very concerned that we have the opportunity to weigh into this project, which we feel that as alternatives proposed impact very greatly the future of our 100-year-old historic community. So I wanted to just update you as to where we are currently in our efforts, because we realize that this is a very significant project. Little Tokyo Community Council has been working with MTA to develop a working committee. And as this process is still going forward, we understand, too, that timing can actually be everything. So at the most recent meeting, we did request that MTA seriously look at other alternatives or some adjustment to the current alternative as proposed. So this motion I have brought for you today to leave for you as a copy, and wanted to also let you know that I think the Little Tokyo community will be, I think, continuing the working group process, but will also be convening a special meeting very soon to agree with some strong single voice as to our position related to the build alternatives as proposed currently by MTA.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chris Komai. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Japanese American National Museum. As you probably both know, it's located at the corner of First and Alameda. I've come to let you know that the concerns of the Board of Trustees, its leadership, its volunteers, have been on two of the options proposed by MTA for the regional connector, specifically in digging up Alameda for prospectively 2 years or more, and how that will impact our institution. Our Japanese American National Museum was incorporated in 1980. We renovated a former Buddhist temple in 1992 and then opened a facility in 1999 that is our main headquarters today. We average about 100,000 different visitors to Little Tokyo and downtown Los Angeles every year, of which 25,000 are school children. Our great fear is that all of this disruption will disrupt our school programs. The buses will have no place to park. They'll have an inability to even access Little Tokyo and First and Alameda. Speaking on a personal note, my family has been running the Rafushimpo for 3 generations. The Rafushimpo goes back to 1903. Little Tokyo has been part of our family for many, many years. For me personally, I have worked in Little Tokyo on and off since 1972. I have seen it go through its ups and downs, its periods where people were afraid to come to Little Tokyo. People were feared for their cars, their property, their well-being. It is only now in these last few years I'm beginning to see the light as people begin to come back to Little Tokyo without fear. Our Nisei generation who built our community feel they can walk the streets now, and suddenly we are faced with this other impediment, which is going to last, even in the best of times, 5 years. And what will that do to our community, our museum, is of great, great concern, and that's why we wanted to draw this to your attention today.
Thank you.
My name is Satoru Ueda. My family's been a business stakeholder in Little Tokyo for since 1945. My objection is to the regional connector as it is proposed today. One of the biggest things in Little Tokyo that sustains business is having adequate parking. The project as proposed will take almost 300 cars, 300 parking spaces out of circulation. The businesses along Central between First and Second count on parking there. The overflow parking from Japanese Village need some of those 300 parking spaces. We have a historic district or a block which is on First Street between Central and San Pedro Street. They do not have any dedicated parking, therefore they are very dependent upon the available parking. So my objection to the regional connector as proposed is they are going to be taking a lot of parking spaces away from the businesses, and it's taken since 1990, when business was very bad in Little Tokyo. It took almost 15 years to get it to the state that it's in now. With the regional connector taking away the parking, and with the construction taking place in there, it'll discourage a lot of people from coming to Little Tokyo. For example, when there's public knowledge that there's going to be a demonstration or protest in Little Tokyo, my business suffers quite a bit. We have just maybe 2 or 3 customers come in all day. So if people know that there's going to be construction problems for 3 to 5 years, they'll be discouraged from coming to Little Tokyo.
What kind of business do you have, Mr.?
We have a dry goods business. We have ethnic clothing. We have ethnic bedding. We also have material, Japanese patterned material, those kind of things.
So retail.
Retail, yes.
Thank you. Next, we have Bobby Garza and Robert Volk. Go ahead, Bobby.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Bobby Garza. I live at the Savoy. Sorry, I got to read off this. My printer ran out of ink today, so. So I live at the Savoy. We're on First and Alameda, 303 units, about 500 residents. We're right across the street from this proposed project. We oppose the at-grade crossing at First and Alameda. It's gonna divide us from the community. We're only 3 years old. We've been there, 2006, I think. And right away, bam, they're gonna divide us. We're gonna have a ditch in front on Alameda. We're gonna have to cross the bridge just to get across the street. We're gonna lose businesses, Senor Fish, possibly Office Depot, and possibly that whole block. Worried about the museum. Pretty much we're worried about the whole community. And besides that, our access to our parking lot on First Street, I know they're gonna limit access on First Street, so we're worried about all the traffic on Second Street, and Second Street right now is can't handle that. And plus, we're going to add 300 more units or so or more on Gary Street, and they're not going to be able to use First Street anymore, so they're going to have to. All that traffic is going to come on Second Street. So we're worried about that traffic. We're worried about us being divided and in the community, and just losing all those businesses, and not to say our property values as well. I believe that's pretty much all the points. Again, we're against the. We got over 200 signatures from our complex opposing this option right now, and personally, and I think a lot of people at our units as well at the Savoy are not necessarily against the regional connector, but this option, the SAC rate option, we're very fearful of, worried about.
Thank you.
Sure, Ms. Barry? I just wanted to clarify today that what's on the agenda today is not the design or the configuration or, the path.
Right.
It's just a question of whether or not the city moves forward in seeking the funding. And I agree with your points on the design and the pathway and all that, and also the points stressed by all the members of the Little Tokyo community. But what's before us today is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the decision for us to move forward in seeking funds.
Federal funds,
Federal
correct.
funds. And that's it. So we're going to have a lot of time and a lot of opportunity to continue to battle it out with the MTA and on how this is configured.
Okay.
I just don't want anybody to be misled. Today.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Because it's confusing enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Robert Volk, and I did not say I was opposed to it. I said I wanted to offer my comments. Now, I understand what you're saying. For background, my great-uncle subdivided much of what is Little Tokyo today. He was James Davies in 1884. And I've been involved in Little Tokyo all of my life, since I'm the only Anglo here speaking about with regards to Little Tokyo. The so-called underground alternative surface is currently designed, surfaces in Little Tokyo and crosses First and Alameda at grade. And this is our great concern, having a train every 2.5 minutes by MTA's estimate. Would just be, the impact is tremendous. You've heard about the effect on the Savoy. the 4 to 5 year construction period, the depressing of Alameda under the current design. Many of the businesses, almost all the businesses in Little Tokyo are small operations. They won't survive. And it's currently configured, it would be devastating. Great concern I have certainly is that up until this point, the staff has been very unresponsive to our concerns. They keep telling us how great it's going to be and how, it'll be wonderful for the city, but they aren't responding to this concern. And it would be disastrous to do away with this historic community. And I'm one of the few people that would end up with a pot of money if it goes through as currently configured, because they'd have to condemn my land. But my concern is for the community.
So you're a property owner, not a day-to-day business operator there?
I own a property that has 3 restaurants and a 120-car parking lot.
It's around a lot, too.
Yeah, but
I own the north third of that block.
Yeah, you own the land, but are you the operator of those businesses?
No, I have tenants that operate it.
The operator of the businesses on your land?
No, I have tenants that operate it for me.
Okay.
He's very civically involved. I see him a lot.
Thank you.
That's the first time I see you.
Yeah. I don't get down to City Hall very often.
Believe me, he's at every meeting.
But you're the one that pointed out that you're the only Anglo testifying.
Yeah.
And you're the property owner.
Right, yeah. No, I have been involved, and my point was that I've been involved in Little Tokyo all my life, and I'm 80 years old. So I have a deep feeling.
I thought it was 3 generations on top of your life.
No.
Including your life.
No.
2 generations?
My great-uncle subdivided it. My mother inherited the property in 1905, and I inherited at her death. So it's the third generation.
So that's 3 generations of your family.
Third generation.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
You're one of those 3 generations.
Yeah, I'm the
So
third.
it's 2 generations prior to you
Correct.
that have been involved.
Engineer.
Yeah, okay. I am too. Good.
Engineering.
It pays to be precise.
Being very precise.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That concludes the public comment cards on item number 4. Is there anybody else here that would like to apprise this committee of any information regarding item number 4 or public comment? Come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Arthur Henry, Metro Government Relations. First of all, I wanted to thank Councilmember Rosendahl and Reyes for introducing this resolution and to the committee members for considering it.
Who do you represent again?
Metro, LA County MTA.
Okay, MTA.
Affectionately also known as Metro.
Because we have Metro Link, we have MTA. Okay.
That's right.
You're MTA. Okay.
And first of all, like I said, I'd like to thank you for considering this resolution. Speaking to the design and configuration issues which are not part of this resolution, Metro is obviously very aware of the concerns of the Little Tokyo community and the concerns expressed by the Office of Councilwoman Chan Perry. And we've had a number of community meetings. We've been working, as has been said, with the Little Tokyo Working Group. We have 3 meetings. We have another one scheduled. We understand and hear the concerns of the Little Tokyo community about what's being proposed and are actively looking at alternatives that would be more acceptable and consistent with the community and not be disruptive to the community and actually be an improvement and a betterment for the Little Tokyo community. We're committed to doing that at the highest levels of the MTA and look forward to continue working with the Little Tokyo community and Councilwoman Jen Perry's office to achieve that goal.
Okay. Thank you for stepping up and clarifying, because MTA was referred to by at least one of the speakers as being non-responsive. But again, that's public comment. But the proof is in the pudding as to whether or not you're responsive. And it's one thing I just want to remind you, representing MTA, it's one thing to have a public hearing. It's another thing to listen. And it's another thing to go ahead and take people's concerns into account and actually make appropriate changes to try to mitigate concerns that are legitimate and that can be mitigated. And in addition to that, one of the things that I always hear when it comes to transportation projects and big transportation projects, in my opinion, there's 2 phases. There's the phases that affect the community sometimes in a negative fashion when it comes to the construction. And then there's the second phase, which is, will it be an improvement? Will it be a betterment for that local community, in this case, of regional transportation, for the regional community as well? With all due respect, I do listen a lot of times, especially in Los Angeles, with the over 100 schools that we built. Everybody says I'm for education. We hear a lot of people upset when they say, but not across the street from my house. So with all due respect, I have listened to what everybody has been saying, but at the same time, it's up to MTA, the ultimate authority, not the only, but the ultimate authority, the point authority on these regional transportation projects, to listen and to actually pay attention and to try your best to make sure you mitigate concerns as much as possible. And in some cases, hopefully not abandon, but change it dramatically so that it has a minimal amount of effect on these communities.
Yeah, I mean, you know the historic things that have been pushed upon this community to diminish it in some ways, and moving to the Buddhist temple, some of the things the city actually did to them. And so, you know, I think it's a highly sensitized, highly organized community. LTCC is, I think, a reflection of that. I think you're going to have to continue to work long and hard to convince every member organization in LTCC that whatever iteration that the community ultimately decides on is the one that we can all support ultimately. And the other thing that, you know, we haven't talked about as much publicly is it is the regional connector, and where it's coming from is also a subject for discussion, because you and I both know the discussion going through what is now somewhat residential to be able to even get over to Little Tokyo is subject of some controversy too. So I think we have a long way ahead of us, and I don't see anything wrong with applying for money. And I just want to make clear to everybody who's here today, this is just to move forward on seeking funding, which could take a couple of years to even get on the consideration list. But in the meantime, we still have to work very, very hard to satisfy the community on whatever choices that they decide, because ultimately, it's a community that has to live with the decisions that we make.
I think I clearly understand what you said and what you said, Chair, as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming forward. Is there anybody else here for public comment on item number 4? Seeing and hearing no one come forward on item number 4 beyond the speakers who come forth, public comment on item number 4 is now closed. So with that, we will go with the CLA recommendations. Okay, and also further instruct the CRA Planning Department and Transportation Department to report back to ITGA relative to the following items: alternative potential project locations, community and pedestrian impacts, traffic mitigation, and related concerns that might jeopardize the cultural and historic integrity of the communities near the regional downtown connector. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? No. Okay, that'll be the action of the committee on item number 4. So with that, I'll open it up for public comment on item number 5. Before we go into closed session, is there anybody here? Let's read item number 5.
Item 5, Department of General Services report relative to a settlement agreement and a new lease for Space 22 Quiznos at the Los Angeles Mall.
Okay. Is there anybody here to make public comment on item number 5 before we clear the room and go to closed session? Item number 5, public comment is now open. I do not see any public comment cards filled out for item number 5 at this time. So with that, public comment on item number 5 is now closed. The only people that should remain in the room are the staff that are here to make comment and take notes on item number 5. So the rest of the public, if you'll excuse us, we're going to go into closed session on item 5. If you'd like to come back after closed session, you're welcome to re-enter the room, but at this time, only the staff shall remain in the room on item number 5.
Shall I read the closed session language from the agenda? The ITGA Information Technology and Governmental Affairs Committee recesses to closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B, subsection 1, and or C, to confer with the city attorney on the following matter. Committee, if you'll please give me a moment to stop the meeting tape. You're on.
Okay, we're back on the air. The committee is now back in regular session. We just came back from closed session, and we had already opened up public comment on this item number 5, and public comment had already closed. So the action of this committee is to approve the GSD report.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the items as scheduled on this agenda. Is there anybody here for general public comment to this committee? I do not see any public comment cards for general public comment, nor do I see anyone coming forward or filling out a card. So with that, general public comment is now closed. This committee is now adjourned.